You don't need a luxury kitchen to prepare gourmet meals. My name is Dennis. I live in a mobile home in a trailer park, and this is my kitchen. I am coming up on another anniversary of my website. 3 years ago, in the middle of the month of August, I started my website, and one of the first recipes I put on my website was almond biscotti. So I've kind of developed this tradition where every anniversary now I celebrate with a biscotti recipe. If you're not familiar with biscotti, it's a twice baked bread. The idea was to dry the bread out, to preserve it for long trips, because moisture contributes to the growth of bacteria and mold. By drying it out, it was safe to eat for longer periods of time. Now, what I want to work on today is a chocolate biscotti. It sounds like it could be good, and it'll certainly be fun to make because I really enjoy making biscotti. So let's make chocolate biscotti. I'm starting off with 3 cups, which is 15 ounces by weight, or 425 grams of all-purpose flour in a bowl, to which I'm going to be adding 3/4 of a cup, 71 grams of cocoa powder. But this is lumpy, so before I put this in, I want to sift it in. Cocoa tends to clump easily, so I want to just sift this into my flour. See the clumps in there? They'll all break up, but I think it's a lot easier to just sift it in to break up those clumps. There we go. And then I can just blend all of this together, and I won't have any lumps of cocoa in my flour. All right, I am satisfied with that. That's very smoothly blended. I'm ready to set that aside. And then in a larger bowl, smaller bowl rather, this is a medium-sized bowl, I'm going to put 1 3/4 cups, that's 350 grams of sugar. And then I'm going to break into it 4 eggs. These are large eggs. As far as what a large egg here is in the USA, they weigh about 2 ounces or 59 grams each. In some countries, that's a medium egg, I've heard. That's what we call a large egg. This is a little gadget that I bought that I really like. It's a wire egg separator. It's got a little bend in it here and the handle to hold it on the edge of a bowl. I want to save the egg white to use to make an egg wash later to garnish the top of my biscotti. But I don't want to waste the yolk, so I'm going to put the yolk in my sugar mixture. Now this doesn't work well with really fresh eggs. Oh, and that worked fine. That was perfect. Sometimes the egg white takes a long time to come out because of the egg being very fresh. Can put that in there, and then I'll set this aside. I'll cover this and set this aside for my egg wash later. Returning now to my sugar and egg mixture, I'm going to add the last of my almond extract to this. I need 2 teaspoons. I measured what I had left in this little bottle. That's all that I had left. Now I'm going to blend this together. Okay, I'm satisfied that that's mixed together well. Now to this, I want to add 1/2 teaspoon of salt And this is 1 teaspoon of baking soda. Then blend that in real well. All right, returning now to my flour and cocoa mixture. I want to pour my eggs and sugar mixture in there. All right. Then with a wooden spoon, or any spoon, it doesn't matter that it's wood or not, combine these two together until most of the flour is incorporated. This is going to be a stiff, thick mixture that really isn't going to smooth out until I'm ready to knead it. Okay, that's starting to get stiff now as that's coming together. To this, I want to add, this is 1 cup, 113 grams of slivered almonds, and 2 cups, 300 grams of mini chocolate chips, and these happen to be semi-sweet. And then I know a spoon isn't going to do me any good at this point. So I'm going to start just folding this together gently because I don't want to break up those chocolate chips. But I do want to bring this together into a sticky mass. It will come together, but it'll be sticky. Okay, the kneading is done. I put on rubber gloves. I cleaned my hands and put on rubber gloves because this is such a sticky mess. And what I want to do here is, if I can, kind of divide this into 2 roughly equal parts because I'm going to shape 2 loaves. Set this aside, and I'm thinking it might be easier to work on parchment paper, and I'm going to wet my hands here because it'll make them less sticky as I shape this. I'm heating my oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. That's about 175 degrees Celsius. And I want to spread these into loaves. See, this is sticky, but it's not impossible to work with. And the length that I want is about equal to or close to the length of my baking sheet. And here is my baking sheet, which I've also lined with parchment. So I'm going to shape this just a little bit longer. And that should be good enough right there. So I'll put this on my baking sheet, and I'm just going to finish with any last minute shaping here. Again, wetting my hands. Any excess water there I can mop up with paper towels before I put this in the oven. Like so. Okay, I had that other piece of dough to shape, and then I'll be ready to garnish these before I put them in the oven. You'll remember that egg white that I set aside earlier. I put in about a tablespoon, couple teaspoons of water. into that egg white to make an egg wash. And then with a pastry brush, I'm going to brush this top with egg white. Like so. You don't have to be too fussy with it. And then I have here 2 tablespoons of raw sugar. I like raw sugar for garnish because it's a larger crystal. And I think it gives the top a nice, sweet crystal surface. It's a little more sugar, a little more flavor. But I also like the looks of the crystal on the top. Okay, so my garnish is done. Now, as I mentioned, I'm heating my oven up to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, 175 Celsius. My oven has beeped to indicate that it's coming up to temperature. I want to bake these for 35 to 40 minutes. My timer has gone off. So there is my biscotti, at least for the first bake. In the meantime, I'm going to turn my oven down to 275 degrees Fahrenheit. That's about 135 Celsius. And I'm going to let these cool down a little bit. They're still in the soft stage. I need to slice these up and then return them to my baking sheet so they can go in the oven and dry out. I have in the meantime moved these onto a cooling rack. And I did let these cool down for about 10 minutes. And I'm using a bread knife for this because I find that the teeth of a bread knife saw through this biscotti without breaking it up too much. I mean, it's already cracked along the top. I don't want to make it any worse or too much worse. Okay. Now, let me make some room here. I'm going to set this aside. Here is my baking sheet again. And what I want to do is I want to arrange these on the baking sheet with a little bit of airspace in between, because that's how they're going to dry out. Now, some people like their biscotti soft. They don't want them really dry, in which case you could just let these cool down thoroughly and they'll be like cookies. But I like my biscotti completely dry. Okay, I still have my other loaf to slice. I have more than half my space available here on my baking sheet. I'll have enough room for all of this. I'm going to return this back to the oven. Again, it's at 275 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 135 Celsius. And I'm going to bake these for 45 to 50 minutes. I'll go an hour if I have to thoroughly dry these out. So there they are. These sat in the oven for 50 minutes, drying out. I took them out. I let them thoroughly cool down. They are ready to eat. Can't wait to see what these taste like. I put a few on a plate for myself, and what better way to enjoy biscotti than with some coffee? That's the garbage truck going by, which is no reflection on my biscotti. See, this really is a trailer park. It's not a TV studio in New York or Hollywood. Best way to have this is dipped in coffee. Let it soak up a little bit of the coffee so that it's tender, soft. That is good. It has a nice chocolatey flavor to it. It's that cocoa. See, it's not just the semi-sweet chocolate chips, it's the cocoa as well. And I love coffee, so excuse me. I'm going to go enjoy my chocolate biscotti and my cup of coffee. For a printable PDF copy of this recipe with step-by-step photographs, visit the White Trash Cooking website and look on the home page or in the recipe archive.